By the time of the Empire, all but a select handful of Jedi had been killed, massacred. Those who were not killed went into hiding, choosing to remain in exile until the time came for them to emerge. Or in some cases, most Jedi simply lived out the remainder of their lives in complete exile. One of the most famous cases of this was the former Grand Master in Yoda, who sat in hiding on the swamp world of Dagobah for nearly 2 decades. Though most of the Jedi were sniffed out and eradicated by either the Inquisitors or Lord Vader specifically, the Empire never even got close, save for a few examples in Legends, in finding the legendary Jedi Grand Master. Part of this was actually due to the rather lackadaisical approach that the Empire as a whole took when trying to find Yoda specifically. Not even the Emperor or Vader made too much of an effort, and today we wanted to find out why, specifically when concerning Darth Vader. Greetings, Acolytes of the Force, and welcome back to the Archives. Despite it being Vader's job, yet, even his obsession to hunt down and kill Jedi, he ironically did not have the same tenacious approach with the search for Grandmaster Yoda. The Emperor was keenly aware of Yoda's survival, and knew that he was out hiding somewhere, and yet, the hunt for him was nowhere on the Empire's priority list, or even Vader's for that matter, which is quite shocking. This is a strange phenomenon that we wanted to dive into, as it would make logical sense that Yoda's capture should be an important matter, but it simply was not. Not even to Vader. So my friends, you know it's time to open up another holocron and discover why Darth Vader didn't bother trying to find Yoda. But before we begin, we must let you know that many of the ships that have been passing through our system have not yet registered within our own systems. So if you like what we do here, be sure to blast that subscribe button so that you can be notified on all of our daily holocron uploads. Now Acolytes, let us begin. We have spoken before about the Emperor's shockingly apathetic attitude towards the hunt for Yoda, but we'll briefly summarize it here if it would lend any clues to Vader's position on the matter. Lord Sidious was fully knowledgeable of Yoda's continued existence, as he knew that the little green Jedi had left their duel and retreated somewhere in the stars. After their grand battle in the Senate debate hall, Sidious had issued a detachment of the Coruscant Guard to search for Yoda specifically. Even after this guard found nothing, he instructed them to double their search. But then, he quickly switched his priorities, especially when he realized that Lord Vader was in danger on the world of Mustafar. The Emperor wouldn't return to the search for Yoda and his greatest rival until quite a bit later actually, when the Empire was more firmly established and the Inquisitorius had began their hunt. Ironically, Vader was more concerned about the remaining Jedi than the Emperor was. In fact, the Emperor barely cared at all about the remaining Jedi, and only turned his attention to them if they made a nuisance out of themselves by starting rebellions. Examples like the Jedi Enclave attempted to do on the world of Kashyyyk. In fact, not only did Sidious not care about the hunt for the Jedi, but he soon began to actively discourage Lord Vader from pursuing the Jedi as well, because Sidious desired his apprentice to focus more on helping him run the Empire than hunting a dead Order. You see, Sidious was confident in the fact that the psychological effects of Order 66 did more harm to the Jedi than anything else. It's also our theory that the Inquisitors were actually to serve as more of a fear tactic than an actual elite squad of Jedi killers. A deterrent more so than a neutralizer. This is not to say though that Sidious didn't care about finding Yoda at all. In fact, we do know that he did take a few measures once or twice to see if he could weed out his greatest rival, and peel him from the dark crevices of the galaxy. We learned from the tales of the Jedi and Sith that Sidious did make an effort once or twice to send out highly specialized search parties to find Yoda, doing so, stating, out of nothing but sheer curiosity. Yoda also always had an insanely high bounty on his head, and there were massive rewards for anyone who could bring him in, dead or otherwise. Due to the high value of Yoda's head, many bounty hunters tried to counterfeit the Grandmaster's death, which led to a massive sea of individuals trying to collect on the reward. In order to sort out all of the fake claims, the Empire then made the reward only applicable to those who brought Yoda in alive, a near impossible task. But this only lessened the counterfeits by a significant margin. The problem was fixed only when Darth Sidious put in place a rule that stated anyone who faked Yoda's capture would be put to death. Finally, the counterfeits stopped altogether, and the search for Yoda stalemated. But interestingly, we don't exactly know if Darth Vader actually took part in this great search. Sidious taught Vader on many occasions that it was never about finding Jedi in the first place, which was that he took pleasure ultimately in the knowledge that the Jedi were being forced to watch from the shadows as the Republic they spent so long protecting grew to hate them. This was a fate worse than death. The hopelessness and despair was something that Sidious gorged himself on whenever the chance arose. But the thing is, we know that Vader wasn't exactly like this. He didn't draw pleasure of the knowledge of suffering. He wanted to be its instrument. Vader was ruthless in his pursuit in Jedi, and would often prioritize certain Jedi Masters that he once knew personally. He collectively blamed all of the Jedi for his current state of being, with Kenobi being at the very top of his personal list. However, Vader is never said to have really put any effort in finding Yoda. Perhaps it wasn't because he was disinterested though. There is the fact that Sidious did not want to send Vader after Yoda, which is something that we have spoken of before. It is a simple matter of strength. Vader knows his own limits, and the Emperor certainly knows them as well. After his dismemberment and burning on Mustafar, Vader was simply not the same. Rather than being disinterested by the idea, perhaps Vader was simply afraid. One thing to note is that Darth Vader in his suit was nothing like how he was in the beginning of his transformation into the dark side. He was no longer arrogant and needlessly brash. Vader's bravado had been humbled in the most violent of ways. He was aware of how far his own strength in the Force would go, and he was constantly reminded of his weaknesses and hindrances of his suit. Had he gone against Yoda in the state that he is currently in, there is a very real chance that he would have lost. This is something that Sidious knew, and something that Vader also likely knew. There is a very real chance that at the time of Dagobah, Darth Vader could have reigned superior over Yoda, but again, there was always that chance. Yoda was still a master of the Force, and he had nearly bested Darth Sidious in single combat. However, during the time of his exile, he was approaching 900 years old, and he was arguably far too advanced in age to try to continue. No matter in what state of being Yoda is in, he is always a threat. He may simply dominate Darth Vader with his use of the Force, messing with Vader's chest plate and injuring the Sith Lord a great deal. The debate of whether or not Vader would be able to best Yoda will go on, with many different avenues of how it would work out. But the point is that neither Vader nor Sidious knew of Yoda's true strength at the time. They did not know what Yoda Vader would ultimately have to face, and Darth Sidious did not want to lose his apprentice. And more than this, as we stated, it was far more important to Sidious that he knew Yoda was out there, watching the galaxy suffer, than to have his head on a spike. Vader knew of Sidious's duel with Yoda on Coruscant, and if Yoda stalemated Sidious, then Vader probably suspected that he would have no hope of overstepping the Grand Master, or at least that it would be very difficult. As again, Darth Vader is only 80% of Sidious's power, as confirmed by George Lucas, the creator. But anyway, my friends, this is our reasoning as to why Vader never tried to hunt Yoda. What are your thoughts on our assessment, and why do you think Vader never bothered? Do you think that if Anakin had not been destroyed so badly on Mustafar, that he would try to find the Grand Master? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, my friends, may the Force be with you, and have a great day.